The guests are arriving. Kindly settle down and requesting you to put your phones on silent, please. The guests have arrived. Kindly give them a huge round of applause. Our honorable chief guest, Honorable Mr. Justice P.S. Narimha, eminent judge at the Supreme Court of India. Honorable guest of honor, Learned Attorney General for India, Shri R. Venkatramani. Professor Shri Prakash Singh, Director, South Campus. Professor Rajni Abbi, Proctor. Professor Dr. Anju Wali Tikku, Dean, Faculty of Law. Professor Dr. Alka Chawla, Professor in Charge, Campus Law Center, patron of this event, and Dr. Seema Singh, Program Director of this event. We welcome you all. Good evening, respected everyone. I, Apurva Singh Mehindian, Advocate, Supreme Court of India, and a part of the knowledge partner of this event, a Knowledge Collective, extend a warm welcome to each one of you on behalf of the Kartavyam team. I'm honored to have this opportunity to stand before this prestigious gathering on this wonderful occasion. It is truly a pleasure to have such an incredible audience as we come together for this pious initiative called Kartavyam, which shall leave you with abundance of knowledge, wisdom, and inspiration. We are thrilled to have such a diverse and engaged assembly of the day to explore thought-provoking ideas and meaningful discussions. To begin, let us take a moment to extend our heartfelt gratitude to our esteemed guests and dignitaries who have graced the occasion with their precious presence. Thank you, sir. Their presence adds immense value to this gathering, and we are truly honored that you could all spare a few moments from your busy schedule to be here with us today. As we embark on this enlightening lecture series, in terms of Indians' ethos and traditions, for such an event, let's illuminate the path ahead with positivity and wisdom. I would invite the dignitaries for the lighting of the lamp. Sir. Let this light symbolize the knowledge and energy that will shine throughout this event, along with the Kulgeet presented by the Delhi University.
After this, Kulgeet after this.
Oh. Okay, sir.
शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणं आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणं आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शत्रुबुद्धिविनाशाय दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तुते दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तुते दीपज्योतिर्परब्रह्म
The Kulgeet will be presented now.
जयति जय जय जयति जय जय ज्ञान का लोक अनुपम
श्रेष्ठ सुंदर दिव्य दिल्ली विश्वविद्यालय विहंगम
जयति जय जय जयति जय जय ज्ञान का लोक अनुपम सकल वसुधा निज कुटुंब की भावना संस्कृति सनातन आधुनिक शिक्षा पुरातन ज्ञान धाराओं का संगम
देश की स्वाधीनता हित भूमिका शतकोटि वंदन
निष्ठा धृति सत्यम के मंगल दिव्य भावों का समागम
जयति जय जय जयति जय जय ज्ञान का आलोक अनुपम
महाविद्यालयों के परिसरों से चिर सुशोभित श्रेष्ठ गुरुजन कर रहे नित छात्र और छात्राएं दीक्षित।
सदचरित्राचार पावन साधना संकल्प संयम
नवल वैश्विक चेतना नव क्रांति संस्कारों का उद्गम। जयति जय जय जयति जय जय ज्ञान का लोक अनुपम।
श्रेष्ठ सुंदर दिव्य दिल्ली विश्वविद्यालय विहंगम।
जयति जय जय जयति जय जय ज्ञान का लोक अनुपम।
ज्ञान का आलोक अनुपम।
ज्ञान का लोक अनुपम।
ज्ञान का आलोक अनुपम।
Now, it's our privilege to felicitate the honorable guests for gracing the occasion. May I request Professor Sri Prakash Singh, Director, South Campus, to welcome our chief guest, Honorable Mr. Justice P.S. Narimha, by way of presenting a memento, shawl, and a sapling, please. Big round of applause, everyone, please. May I request, sir, to welcome our guest of honor, the learned Attorney General for India, Sri R. Venkatramani, by way of presenting a memento, shawl, and a sapling. Moving on, it's my honor to invite Professor Dr. Alka Chawla, Professor in Charge, Campus Law Center, who has figured in the top 100 powerful women in law list released by the World IP Forum in the year 2021 and 2017. She's also the patron of the lecture series, Kartavyam. Ma'am, I would request you to deliver the welcome address.
Thank you. This is falling down. Good evening, everyone. All physically present, and I don't see, is it? Okay. All physically present here, and those connected with us online. There are around 15 universities who are connected with us, you can see on the screen. We have all congregated to celebrate 75 years of our Constitution in the name of Kartavyam, which depicts duty, dharma, and sahi direction mein karam. That is what we want to basically send it to everyone, this message. We all know that the Indian tradition is a reflection of our core constitutional principles of rights, duties, and freedom. Long before the term human rights was coined, the Indian thought had already embedded the ideology of human rights within its culture through the lens of dharma, a duty-driven philosophy that ensured societal harmony and order. Unlike the Western notion of human rights as mere claims against the state, the Indian perspective empowers individuals to attain the highest potential through duty and righteousness. The concept of dharma is so vast that the closest translation of rights, adhikar, is far narrower than dharma, which encompasses both justice and propriety, extending beyond mere claims to a universal ethical code. The ancient Indian civilization has thrived on the principles of dharma, that is duty, karma, that is action. The Vedas and the Upanishads, they emphasize the universality of divine truth, the sanctity of life, and strict adherence to righteousness, that is sadachar. The highlight selflessness towards those in suffering, and the Manav Dharma Shastras prescribe moral duties towards the hungry, the poor, the sick, and the distressed. Thus, Indian tradition does not perceive human rights as freedoms against the state, but rather as an intrinsic responsibility of both the state and the individuals to uphold the dignity and well-being of society. With this, I would say that I have been given the most pleasant duty of welcoming you all to Kartavyam, which is not just an event, let me all tell you. It is a clarion call to action. It's a symphony of purpose and an odyssey of unwavering commitment. It is my honor to extend a warm welcome to our esteemed guests for this momentous occasion. I would first like to welcome our chief guest, Honorable Justice P.S. Narimha, Judge, Supreme Court of India. Justice Narimha has been instrumental in several significant judgments. Only one that I will quote is the one that held that lawmakers are not immune from bribery charges. Beyond his judicial pronouncements, he is known for his progressive stance on courtroom decorum. He once remarked, "Decolonization is actually a constitutional mission for us. Sir, we are trying to embark on this journey." We all know that he was elevated directly from the bar to the Supreme Court on August 31, 2021. Let us extend a warm welcome to him, whose legacy continues to illuminate the path of justice and legal excellence in India. He is poised to become the Chief Justice of India in October 2027, but what with pride I'm going to tell you is that he will be the 6th Chief Justice from Campus Law Center. Sir, I was telling him this and he said, "Acha, you have all the statistics?" I didn't know that. So we have all the statistics because that's how the students get motivated. We are privileged to welcome Senior Advocate R. Venkataramaniji, currently serving as the 14th Attorney General of India. He commenced his legal journey at the Madras High Court before moving his practice to Supreme Court of India. He has profound expertise in constitutional law, human rights, environmental law, and so on and so forth. He served as a member of Law Commission of India in 2010 and 2013, contributing to legal reforms. Beyond his legal practice, he has been deeply involved in academia, mentoring young lawyers. He's an erudite scholar. He's a poet. He's authored several publications, including a volume on torts in Halsbury Laws of India. Sir, we welcome you. And one sentence which I think if all students and advocates sitting here must remember, he says that in the legal profession, self-interest must always remain secondary as advocacy is a public profession. And we decided to have both of them here because they are not only legal luminaries, they are the best human beings I have come across. I have had personal interactions with both of them, and I think we couldn't have thought of anybody else but to call them for the first lecture on Kartavyam. I would now like to welcome Professor Sri Prakash Singh Ji, Director, South Campus. He is an eminent and a world-renowned expert in the field of constitutional law. He is heading many statutory bodies and is author of many books, written a number of research articles. On a personal note, he is a troubleshooter for all the problems that we have, and especially whenever I have had a problem. A true visionary in University of Delhi. This program, sir, would not have been possible without his guidance and support. A very, very warm welcome to you, sir. A big applause for him. Now I would like to welcome my dearest and the oldest friend here in the gathering, that is Professor Rajni Abbi. She is the Proctor University of Delhi. Maintaining law, order, safety for all of us with an ever-smiling face, which she still has. Thank you for that. She has also been holding many statutory provisions. She was the mayor of Delhi in 2011-12, authored many books. I think most of you who've been reading BCom and LLB also must have read her books. Very well-researched articles that she's written. Thank you for coming, Rajni. A warm welcome to you. A very, very warm welcome to our erudite dean, Professor Anjuvali Tikku, who has earned a name. I think there's no one here, no advocate who wouldn't know her. She's earned a name in the field of criminal law. She's a prolific writer and the torchbearer for all the 4 centers of Faculty of Law. Whether it is CLC, LC1, LC2, or the 5-year that we've started with, she's the dean of all the 4 centers. We have seen together ups and downs. I think we joined the profession together, but I will retire before she retires. A big applause for her, please. I see many principals, deans, heads, dean academic, and so many people sitting here. I cannot take all the names, but I would definitely like to take the names of our center senior professors, Professor Raman, Professor Gunjan, Professor Pushp is here. Professor Anupam wanted to come, but he's also busy in a program. And all the others, the deans, principals, whomsoever I see Principal of Lakshmi Bai sitting right in front of me. Welcome to all of you. My entire erudite faculty, dear students, non-teaching staff, ladies and gentlemen, I welcome you here. I would be failing in my duty if I do not welcome the spirit and the head behind the entire series of Kartavyam, Dr. Seema Singh. A big applause for her. I wish from the core of my heart, and I sincerely pray, that Seema, you will not be bound by any Seema. And the world of Kartavyam will go down not only in the entire nation, but the entire world, and people will remember you that you thought the Constitution has to be read in a manner which is completely duty-based. And one person I cannot stop from acknowledging. Please come here. I think that person knows, standing right in the middle. Shantanu, please come here. All the video clippings that we are showing you, whatever, the slogans that are coming up, whatever is being photographed, is all done by Shantanu. Duty of a student, not to be bound by the syllabus, not to be bound by the course, but to go beyond it and take the message to the entire world. Thank you, Shantanu. God bless you. With her and the team efforts, with Seema and her team efforts, there have been 15 collaborating institutions from India which are joining here with us online, and they're all watching with their students in their respective auditoriums. They're watching this program. We have NLU Delhi, Bhopal, Lucknow, Shimla, Jabalpur, Jamia Millia Islamia, IP University, University of Rajasthan, GLC Mumbai, Barkatullah University, ILS Pune, and institutions like Indian Law Institute, Human Rights Commission, National Commission for Women, University of Sikkim, SNLF College Pune, Army Law College Pune. And there are some whom we did not collaborate because it was becoming infrastructurally not feasible for us to join hands with everyone. But slowly what our aim is to join hands and send the message throughout the world. Last but not the least, I would like to welcome all members of Knowledge Collective, that is our knowledge partner. The entire fraternity from bench sitting here, I welcome you all. I welcome you all to this mega event, a mega series, which is going to run for a year. God bless you all. Long live our Constitution. Jai Hind.
Thank you, ma'am, for extending such a warm welcome address. Let us take a moment to understand the significance of today's event, for which may I request Dr. Seema Singh, Learned Program Director to this event, who is also a professor at the Faculty of Law, Delhi University, to give an insight into and an introduction to this historic event, Kartavyam. I shall be failing in my duty if I don't mention that Dr. Seema Singh is also an author, having 3 books to her name, and has written many articles and publications. Ma'am, I would be humbled if you could please introduce today's event.
Thank you so much, Apurva. Honorable Justice P.S. Narimha ji, Shri R. Venkat Ramdi sir, Shri Prakash Singh sir, Professor Rajni Abbi ma'am, Professor Anjivali Tikku ma'am, Alka Chawla ma'am, and all the distinguished guests of this gathering and their students. Truly, I am feeling very privileged to introduce the concept of Kartavyam. Everybody is asking me, why Kartavyam? Kartavyam means what? And on the completion of 75 years of the Indian Constitution, instead of talking about right, why we are talking about duty? You all are aware about the motto of the Supreme Court, as well as the motto of the High Court, Yato dharmas tato jaya and satyamyo jayate. Here, one important thing I want to mention here, satyamyo jayate is incomplete. The complete shloka is satyamyo jayate na anrita. This term anrita compelled me and guided me to keep the term Kartavyam as the main theme of this entire series. Now, I know many of you would be thinking that what is the meaning of Anrita or what is the meaning of Rita? When I was conceptualizing the concept of Kartavyam, I came to know about a new akshar, letter, and that is Ri. Ri means Rishi wala Ri. And surprisingly, this Ri is not, you will not found in the vocabulary of any other language in the entire world. But this Ri is very relevant. Ri se Rita, Ri se Rishi, Ri se Prakriti, कर्तव्य में भी वही री है और वही री अधिकार में भी है. But what is the meaning of Rita? The meaning of Rita is cosmic order. And once you follow or you try to understand the meaning of cosmic order is kartavya centric. Everything which has been created by the universe that is following a certain path of kartavya. And that is the reason that ultimately we decided to keep the term Kartavyam as our core theme, because the preamble of our constitution is also going to be started from a term, we the people of India. And whatever terms have been mentioned between sovereignty to fraternity, everything is the collective goal and collective aim of each and every citizen of this country. So this कर्तव्य का जो री है वो अधिकार में पीछे लग करके आता है, इसलिए हमारी सभ्यता में माना जाता है कि अधिकार तभी आपको मिलेगा जब आप एक कर्तव्य को फॉलो करेंगे. और मैं हम हॉफेल्डियन थ्योरी को अगर हम देखते हैं तो मुझे लगता है कि जो राइट और ड्यूटी का कोरिलेट है उसको अगर पलट दिया जाए और ड्यूटी के साथ राइट कर दिया जाए तो पूरा का पूरा न केवल भारतीय नॉलेज सिस्टम सेटिस्फाई और जस्टिफाई होता है, बल्कि कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन का भी कोर पर्पस जो कि प्रियम्बल में दिया हुआ है वो भी जस्टिफाई होता है. एंड आफ्टर द 75 years ऑफ द completion ऑफ द इंडियन कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन, आई थिंक वी ऑल शुड अंडरस्टैंड आवर रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी as the citizen of this country, because once we are going to follow our duty, the rights of each and everyone is going to be satisfied. So with this was the reason why we kept the term Kartavyam of this entire series. And as Professor Alka Chawla Madam has told, that Kartavyam is a beginning. 15 universities have already collaborated with us, and from here, at this place on this date, I declare that if we are collectively going to emphasize and practicing this particular term Kartavya in our life, then very soon we are going to establish Kartavya or Kartavyam School of Thought, not only in Law Faculty, Delhi University, but in all the institutions across the country and world. So this was all about Kartavyam. Thank you so much. And I think definitely after the completion of this entire series, we will be able to fulfill the purpose for which this particular series has been initiated. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am, for enlightening us about this exciting event, which will not only help the students, but also the professionals of law. To flow with the air of the event, may I now invite Professor Dr. Anju Wali Tikku, Dean, Faculty of Law, who has over 3 decades of teaching experience, including positions at the University of Delhi's Faculty of Law and National Law University, Delhi. She has consistently demonstrated her commitment to nurturing the legal minds of tomorrow. Ma'am, may I now invite you to say a few words.
नमस्कार और आप सबका इस मौके पे हार्दिक अभिनंदन है. It is indeed a moment of pride, pleasure, honor, privilege to stand before you at this moment where we understand that the Faculty of Law has completed 100 years and we are also into the 75th year of the working of the Constitution. The theme of this year-long lecture series is very apt, and I, at the outset, congratulate the organizers for conceptualizing and holding this at a moment wherein there has been too much of conflict between rights and duties. And before I get into some observations or some points from my side, I need to get into the protocol first. And when I said that it is a moment of pride, honor, privilege, खासकर तब जब हमारे alumnus हमारे साथ हैं as judge. और ये वक्त की बात है कि हमने पीछे जितने भी किए प्रोग्राम सब में हमारे alumnus हमारे साथ थे. और sir, I'm really happy to inform you, yesterday Justice Sanjay Karol joined us, your brother judge from Supreme Court, in yet another program. So again, he also happens to be somewhere related to us. So thank you very much for your support. So at the outset, Justice P.S. Narimha ji, who is, I'll not get into the details, you can all see his profile, long drawn profile, has agreed to bless us in the very inaugural program. Along with him, we happen to have our Attorney General, none other than Shri R. Venkataramani, who again, we all understand that the kind of time crisis they happen to have, both of them, but they still managed to make do on a Friday at 4, and they were here dot at 4 and 4:15. Thank you very much, sir, and we welcome you back to the Faculty of Law. Professor Sri Prakash ji, Director South Campus, Rajni Abhi, Proctor. I'm sorry I said Rajni Abhi, I believe you won't mind it. Ratnavali, Dean Academics, Dr. Seema Singh, my colleagues, principals from different institutions, students, volunteers, advocates. It is a moment wherein we need to understand the significance of duty, which has been rightly noted and pointed out as Kartavyam. From where we talk about this Kartavyam and why do we talk about this? As an institution, it is our responsibility to give experiential learning to the students, and that's where these kind of events become really important, to give an exposure to the students, not only from the curriculum, the textbooks or the case material that they happen to read or that they are taught, but also the fact that people from the field, from different branches of law, when they come across and share their wisdom and vision as to what kind of situations they experience and how do they come out of that as legal professionals would certainly give them an added advantage in honing their skills. And that's where we are here before you, opening up with Kartavyam. And I believe we all are aware of our preamble, which talks about justice, which talks about liberty, and we are all aware of equality, liberty, justice. I would just highlight one word, fraternity. जब तक हम बंधुत्व को अंडरस्कोर नहीं करेंगे, हमारे मन में वो ड्यूटी भाव नहीं आएगा. And that's where I want and wish that let's also bring to the fore another important concept which is there in the preamble that talks about fraternity. And the moment we talk about fraternity, it means the sense of belonging. So until and unless we have a sense of belonging, we would get into the conflict of interest areas wherein we would always elbow out others saying that this is mine and not yours. So in order to have a happy, harmonious collective society, we need to also underscore and also emphasize the fraternity concept along with justice, equality, and we are all aware that we also have got fundamental duties. So even if we look into those 11 pointers in the fundamental duty, it does talk about harmony. So when we talk about harmony, I believe harmony cannot be there if we are not performing our duties. We need rights only when we are not performing our duties, and it is only in a deficient society that rights are required. So with that, I would just conclude because we are already running behind schedule and we have got able scholars who would be informing us about their instances and their life experiences and their understanding of how we should move forward in this rights-based society regime across the globe. More so when we are talking about Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, it is our responsibility to ensure that across the globe we make this thought process go across and we start believing in the sense of collectivity. Thank you very much for bearing with me, and again, congratulations to the organizers for coming up with such a wonderful theme.
Thank you, ma'am, for such a heartfelt address and for highlighting the important principles of Constitution. Carrying the program forward, next we have the honor to have the valuable presence of Professor Sri Prakash Singh, Director, South Campus, who is an eminent expert of the field. He has undertaken various projects of national importance and has multiple publications to his name. His administrative acumen and caliber has been exemplified by varied experience of leading academic institutions. Please join your hands together for welcoming Professor Sri Prakash Singh.
Thank you so much. Honorable Mr. Justice P.S. Narimha ji, Judge Supreme Court of India, Mr. R. Venkatramani, Attorney General of India, Professor Rajni Abhi, Proctor, Delhi University, Professor Anju Ali Tikku, Dean, Faculty of Law, Professor Alka Chawla, Professor in Charge, Campus Law Center, Dr. Seema Singh, Program Director, Professor Ratnavali, Dean Academics, Professor Pushp Kumar, Director, 5-year Integrated Law Program, Professor Raman Mittal, Professor Gunjan, Dr. A.K. Bhagi, DUTA President, Dr. V.S. Negi, former Executive Council Member, Delhi University, Head and Deans of all 15 partner universities and colleges, Knowledge Partner of the series Knowledge Collective, respected Deans, Head of Departments, respected Principals, Faculty Member, Practitioners, and dear students. I must congratulate Faculty of Law, Professor Anjuvali Tikku, Professor Alka Chawla, Professor in charge Law Campus, and Dr. Seema Singh for organizing this wonderful program, Kartavyam, that will give immense torch bearing light to our new generation. While thinking on this theme, I started thinking of my own journey as a student. I started thinking about my school, my college. When I was introduced to rights first, if I'm not wrong, this applies to each one of you, each one of us. Perhaps till class 5th, we were not aware of rights. In some of the cases, I can say, till class 8th, we were not used to call rights in our family, in our school, or in other systems. But with this education system, when we go into our higher classes, even in our family, our own children, after a certain period of time, start discussing about rights and they forget their own duties towards each other. Seema, I must congratulate you for having this word Kartavyam for this wonderful series of. Two terminologies are really important for academics and for legal system also. One is Kartavya, another one is Dharma. And when I am reading Dharma, it's not worship method. It's basically the righteous, judicious behavior towards each other. Asteya, Nigraha, all these terminologies are the duties ingrained to the individual. तो इसलिए जब हम धर्म की संज्ञा को सामने रखें तो उसे पूजा पद्धति ना माने, उसे अपने कर्तव्य के रूप में देखें। पिता के नाते मेरा धर्म क्या है, नागरिक के नाते मेरा धर्म क्या है, राष्ट्र के नाते मेरा धर्म क्या है, समाज के नाते मेरा धर्म क्या है। और जब हम इस कड़ी को एक दूसरे से जोड़ते हैं तो अधिकार स्वतः सिंचित होते चले जाते हैं, स्वतः पूरित होते चले जाते हैं। और अंजुवली टिक्कू जी ने बिल्कुल ठीक कहा, अगर हम अपने दायित्वों का निर्वहन करते रहें तो अधिकार मांगने की स्थिति ही पैदा नहीं होती, उसका स्थान ही पैदा नहीं होता। दूसरी बात, हमारा जो संविधान है, मैं पॉलिटिकल साइंस का विद्यार्थी हूं, इस नाते उसको इस दृष्टि से देखता हूं। हमारा अपना संविधान, जिसमें 1976 में 42nd अमेंडमेंट के तहत ड्यूटीज की संरचना की गई। एंड जस्टिस सर, व्हेन वी इन क्लास वी try to compare duties and rights. There is no correlation between duties and the fundamental rights defined in our constitution. All these duties are moralistic in nature. आप उनका कहीं वायलेशन, आप लोगों की स्टिक थोड़ी सी मजबूत है तो कभी कभी लोगों को मानना भी पड़ता है, लेकिन अगर आप रिलेशन देखेंगे तो ये सब उनके ऊपर कोई दबाव नहीं महसूस करते। आप राष्ट्रीय महत्व के संस्थानों को, प्रतीकों को ऑनर करें ना करें, लेकिन जैसे ही किसी राइट्स का वायलेशन होता है, वो जुडिशियल प्रोटेक्शन उसको मिल जाती है और उसके क्लेम्स बढ़ते चले जाते हैं। तो ये जो सीरीज कर्तव्यम के रूप में शुरू हुई है, मेरा मानना है कि एक नई डिबेट को जन्म देगी और उससे आने वाली पीढ़ियों का बहुत फायदा होगा। रिगार्डिंग डीकोलोनाइजेशन, सर मैं एक शब्द कहा करता हूं कि हमारे इंग्लिश के सिलेबाई में अगर भारतीयता थोड़ी सी आ जाए तो बहुत सारा आसान कार्य हमारा आसान हो जाएगा। और ऐसे ही इंडियन ज्यूडिस्प्रूडेंस की थोड़ी सी तवज्जो जो अब मिलनी शुरू हुई है, जिसके एक निर्णय का रेफरेंस प्रोफेसर चावला ने आपके मार्फत दिया भी, अगर वो शुरू हो जाता है तो बहुत देर नहीं है कि डीकोलोनाइजेशन का प्रोसेस भी पूरा होगा और जो भारतीय ज्ञान संपदा है उसके साथ हम सभी जुड़ सकेंगे। आपका एक बार पुनः स्वागत करते हुए मैं अपनी बात को समाप्त करते हुए सिर्फ 2 कोटेशंस आपके सामने रखना चाहूंगा। डॉक्टर अंबेडकर once said, I quote, "The preservation of democracy lies not merely in the form of government, but in the habits of the people. But in the habits of the people." Quote close. आप सोच करके देखिए, बहुत छोटा सा वाक्यांश है, लेकिन लोगों की आदतों में लोकतंत्र कैसे शामिल है वह उसकी सफलता के प्रति निर्देशित करता है। अगर हमारी आदत में कर्तव्य शामिल हो जाए, इफ वी मेक अ हैबिट ऑफ इट, डूइंग आवर रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटीज, आवर ड्यूटीज जुडिशियसली, थिंग्स विल बी ऑल इन फेवर ऑफ आवर सोसाइटी एंड द पीपल। और न्याय सूत्र भी कहता है, कर्तव्यानाम सम्यक पालनम राज्यम वर्धते। A nation flourishes when its citizens steadfastly uphold their duties. Rights and duties, therefore, are not opposing forces, they are complementary pillar of a just and resilient democracy. इन दोनों में टकराव नहीं है, दोनों एक दूसरे के पूरक हैं, लेकिन पहला आधार कर्तव्य का है और जब हम कर्तव्य करते हैं तो अधिकार अपने आप सिंचित होते चले जाते हैं। सरदार पटेल once said regarding rights and duties, quote, "Every citizen of India must remember that he is an Indian and he has every right in this country, but with certain duties." His focus at the last of his statement is on duties, quote close. These words rings true even today as India charts its course forward, becoming a Viksit Bharat 2047. The integration of constitutional duties into our national consciousness is not just a moral imperative, it is essential for sustaining democratic accountability and strengthening the social fabric of our nation. बातें बहुत सारी कही जा सकती हैं, लेकिन मैं अपने आप को यहाँ रोकता हूँ क्योंकि हमें जस्टिस PS नरसिम्हा साहब को सुनना है, मिस्टर R वेंकटरमणी साहब को सुनना है, जिनका समय बहुत सौभाग्य से मिलता है। और मैं अपने सभी लॉ कैंपस के विद्यार्थी और फैकल्टी को बधाई दूंगा कि आप बहुत भाग्यशाली हैं कि आपको 2 बड़े विद्वानों का, जो देश की दशा दिशा को तय करने में सक्षम है, आपको सुनने का अवसर प्राप्त होगा। अंत में मैथिली शरण गुप्त की एक छोटी सी कविता है, उसका आधा आपके समक्ष रख रहा हूं। 4 लाइनें हैं। मन से, वाणी से, कर्मों से, मन से, वाणी से, कर्मों से आदि व्याधि उपाधि हरो, आदि व्याधि उपाधि हरो, अक्षय आत्मा के अधिकारी, किसी विघ्न भय से न डरो, विचरो अपने पैरों के बल। ये युवाओं के लिए है। विचरो अपने पैरों के बल, भुज बल से भव सिंधु तरो, जियो कर्म के लिए जगत में, जियो कर्म के लिए जगत में, और धर्म के लिए मरो, और धर्म के लिए मरो। धन्यवाद।
Thank you, sir, for your inspiring words and paving the way for insightful discussions and meaningful takeaways. With great pleasure, we now move on to the much-awaited address by our guest of honor, Shri R. Venkat Ramani, learned Attorney General for India, who is renowned for his humbleness and has made significant contributions in the growth of law. It is indeed a privilege to have sir with us today. Please join me in welcoming the learned Attorney General for India, Shri R. Venkat Ramani, sir.
I feel as if I entered a coronation hall. And as I enter this place with people assembled here from various understandings and perceptions, to be able to reach to each other's mind is a difficult task. But I'm here by way of Kartavyam, my duty to be here. And just Narasimha is also a deity of duty. He heard the appeal of Prahalada, and therefore he was a deity of duty. So both of us here understand what Kartavyam means, both in life and in profession and in our calling. And Professor Seema Singh unveiled her understanding of this program. I was so excited about it, like a student. And so my being here is also like a student to understand what we are trying to unfold probably for the next decade or two in regeneration of some of our ideas and thoughts, not only about our constitution, but life in general. As we see a moment, a shift of universities focus on what is to be learned and how it is to be learned and why we learn. Go back in the early 70s, when many of our universities were excellent centers of learning in pure sciences. University of Calcutta, Delhi, Madras, Bombay, pure sciences, and then later we move into an enlargement of the subjects of study and expansion of our learning and knowledge. And coincidentally, we have a global movement post-World War II in trying to look at the world from a particular perspective as a product of both clash of ideologies in Europe and in United States of America. You look at all of them, and therefore the product of the Indian Constitution as an inevitable product of this confluence of thoughts and ideas. And it was that the Indian Constitution gave birth to certain seminal important principles. Before I get into that, and as I was looking at the United States Constitution and compared it with some other constitutions, the US Constitution talks about the pursuit of happiness. The US Constitution was a product, in a way, of those reverberating ideas of the French Revolution: liberty, equality, and fraternity. The struggle for independence in the United States was based on the European history of where a large amount of bloodshed was between warring faiths. You have the War of Crusades for a long period. The warring faiths, and then as a consequence thereof, the need to necessarily talk about human dignity and the importance of individual in the social order and vice versa. So we have the US Constitution, which is a product of that thinking, where you will interestingly find that the role of the state as an arbiter, as a motion or a process or an engine or a tool to reorder a social structure is completely absent. It's a constitution which only talks about freedom, liberty, and all that which is necessary according to that constitution for a nation to be able to be a nation. But then as we move on to different understandings in European history and global history, then I think it became important to look at not merely this way of looking at a social order, but then as we slowly see, state and government's role in reordering society became very important. So therefore you find the directive principle of state policy as a very, very important part of our constitutional structure. Why do you want to talk about that? Now, if you look at history beyond Europe and other parts of the world, like Asian history, Chinese history, somebody writes about a geography of thought. The geography of thought in Asia, China, India, etc., was very different, regardless of the fact that India or any Asian countries were still hierarchical societies, where low and high were still part of a social order. Hierarchical societies, I think, were inevitably a part of history, the way human evolution has taken place. But then this, regardless of the hierarchical society, within the hierarchical society, I think there are certain ideas of understanding sharing, which probably gave birth to a different conception of living with each other, regardless of the high hierarchical society, etc. Therefore, when you land slowly into the Indian constitutional idea of governance playing an important role in reordering, restructuring our social order, it became necessary to talk both about the role of the government and also what the government will not do and what the government should do. And where does the individual citizens come here in what the government should not do and should do is a very important question. And you find in the Constitution, imagine now today the Human Rights Act is redone as a Human Duties Act. How will it look like? I wonder whether it will be possible to rewrite the Human Rights Act as a Human Duties Act, which means a fundamental revolutionary idea of looking at duties in the form of doing what ought to be done. You look at, I went on a Google search of Kartavyam. Like it said 129 resource books, etc. I thought I would go beyond 129. I'm going to peep a little into not a fashionable thing to talk among lawyers because we're all liberal, the liberal thought process, which has engulfed our mind. I'm also a product of that over a period of time. So it's not fashionable to talk about Indian literature, which has other contributions to make. I was looking at, when you talk about, let's say, the basic structure of the Constitution. Slightly something very different, but I tried to connect how it can be connected. So we have one of the Samhitas where it talks about Lord Krishna and the gopis are waiting for him for long. And in Indian literature, the gopis are said to be incarnations of the Vedas. So they're waiting for a long time to come. He is very late and doesn't come in good time. Comes late and then they ask him, we've been waiting for long. Our homes have become desolate without your presence. He says, I have to go and meet my guru, my Acharya. And my Acharya is my Lord, my Brahma, Shiva, Vishnu, etc. And he's everything for me. I have to do my duty for him. That comes foremost before I come to spend some time with you. Then they said, would not be happy to go and see your own guru. How do I go and do that? He says, go near the river Yamuna and pray before the river Yamuna. If Krishna is one which is pure in form and which is blemishless, then the river Yamuna will probably give way to you. And then you walk across the river Yamuna and reach the Guru. The story says, the Samhita says, so did the gopis. They prayed to the Yamuna and said, if Krishna was a pure in heart and pure in form, pure in soul, the Yamuna gave way, they walked across and reached the Guru. This is called the faith in something So we began to now talk about, the basic structure of the Constitution as an important pillar of the Constitution. And very often, I think the very idea of a faith means we began to create stories about something, notions, ideas, understanding. As over a period of time, each one of us internalize these ideas, notions, etc. They become part of a faith. So stories become the initial point of generating faith in people's mind, whether you call it a Marxist ideology or any ideology. They have to begin by some kind of a narration. As over a period of time, narrations become our faith, they become part of our life, they become part of our understanding, they become part of our guide. So in the context of the basic structure of the Constitution, we say this must guide us. Nothing to impeach the basic structure of the Constitution. So we have therefore lots of ideas around us. Why did I go to the Krishna story? The connection is that if there is a faith in certain things, and you firmly believe in that faith, we begin to move towards our activity, conduct, and orient our understanding of what needs to be done. I think it's important for us as students of law to probably reorient a little from the dialogues which have happened and which have captured our imagination, understanding from the European continent. And is there a need for a shift? I think so. There is a need for a shift. And I'm not talking from any parochial point of view. I'm not talking from any what call the pride of India kind of understanding. But I think there need to be some pride in our country. I mean, you can't lose sight of what this country has produced. I said, regardless of what it has not produced. So it's therefore the very reading of law, constitution, and human relationships, if they were to now move away from certain fundamental notions of demand and response. The demand and response has been the basic structure of a legal system. The adversarial system is also a part of a demand and a relief. So everything around the legal universe, I find, is on the basis of a demand and a response. If there has to be a right demand, and there has to be a right response. And who will enable a right demand, and what's a right demand? And when will each one of us know my demand is right? Very difficult to answer this question. But then we begin to know, like in the context of we are entering a new machine age. And a new machine age which is unlike several machine ages earlier. And this machine age virtually has captured our mind. So there are a lot of literature which says we are a world without mind because we have mortgaged our thinking, our mind, to something beyond us. So when you're entering this machine age, what is good for me as an individual? What can I demand from you and me? And how will the demand should meet a very effective and a higher level of response? Our current legal understanding, our laws, the way they are framed, are far, far removed from this understanding. I understand, therefore, that this initiative is an initiative to probably fundamentally transform how humanity across the world can begin to have a new understanding or a travel or a journey to look at what would be a righteous demand and what would be a righteous duty. As I look at many of the legislations, and they are based on a entirely different kind of a concept and visions. So how do we go about it now? I thought I'll broadly share this very called sprinkling of ideas, if you put it like that, and then invite your attention to something else I would like to talk about. But when you talk about rights and duties, I don't want to get into a sterile debate. Like I look at the nature. Every spring and in winter, the trees shed their leaves because they must necessarily shed their leaves because the leaves have become dry. They're gone of age. And then the spring comes beautifully. The trees, every year, year after year, nobody calls upon the trees to grow, leaves of them, and to bear fruits. Nobody calls upon them. The trees do their duty as a duty part of nature. Nature has inbuilt something in our DNA also, but somehow I think what nature has inbuilt into their DNA, trees, mountains, rivers. Somewhere our DNA seemed to have lost contact with that. So if Kartavyam means to capture that back, because I walk in my garden every morning looking at, particularly when the winter has gone, the spring comes and summer is yet to come, I look at the trees and ask myself the question, who taught you this duty? Does duty require a book? Or does it require a 10 commandments to be, I suppose today nobody would dare to venture write a commentary on 10 commandments. They are what they are. At some point of time in human history, every civilization had generated and evolved their own internal commandments of life, which is a product of people's understanding of how one ought to live. But then, alongside, we also generated a hierarchical society. Therefore, there is a conflict where a hierarchical society exists and the yearning of each and every one of us to be free, individual human beings, and therefore we worship liberty. Therefore, there is some element of a conflict zone where European history thought, let this conflict zone be resolved by appealing to rights. I think this conflict zone needs to be addressed very carefully. And if you address it very carefully, and we're able to transform our understanding of or need to look at the conflict zone and resolving them, not necessarily from that, what I may call the world of rights, then perhaps we would have moved into a different conception of how we can redo our social order and undo our unequal social order. After all, we can't just close our eyes to an unequal social order. That's the product of history. We must look at that. We must deal with them very clearly and directly. So I therefore consider that the part of history which has generated certain debates where people thought that the liberal, the capitalist and the free market ideology on the one hand and the socialist ideology on the other hand, we thought that the one will conquer the other and then we will find a final solution, like where Marx said, the state will wither away. I do not know whether that idea of history is a good idea of history. As I grow into understanding the use of law in India, and I find that idea of history and that idea of looking at human relationships and seems to be a very questionable idea. And I began to ask myself a question again. What's the right answer to any question? Either somebody who has a textbook where you will find right answers to every question. The clash between ideologies is a clash to say that my answer is the right answer. So history has gone on that. So you find today the wars, the battles that are going on the European continent. They're not able to find a right answer among their conflict. The very use of armed conflict is a complete, utter failure to find the right answer. Now that means some answer they thought the right answer has engulfed their mind. All this, I think, is important for us to gather, to look at the need for India and the Indian universities, particularly those who teach law. I think I place my revered hands at all of each one of you here for looking at this idea. Because somewhere I find, we place ourselves in very critical cases in the court. We are in sterile debates. We're not able to find solutions where the mean path, or Lord Buddha long ago thought about it, the mean path of getting solutions where we rejoice with the outcome of solution so that everybody is ultimately in a state of comfort and solace. I suppose Kartavyam means, like in the yoga philosophy, it means a rule, a procedure. The yoga talks about the union of mind with, it's the union. So the rule, the procedure we're all talking about in Indian thought, ultimately is if there is a rule, there is a procedure, it must be a just rule and procedure. Somewhere very closely, Maneka Gandhi came to it, but at a very lesser level. So we have all those very wonderful ideas available to us. And only I think what's needed is to have a gentle push, but a great commitment. And the gentle push must come from the universities. All of you have played a great role, but I must share with you some concerns. Because we have moved into a world of demand, a demand where it can be a demand without reason, it can be a demand without responsibility, it can be a demand without understanding why I need to demand it at all. I'm talking to the students. The world of today is unlike the world, I said, the machine age has virtually captured our mind. Your mind is not what you think is with you. Therefore, your demand of what you think is good for you need not be necessarily good for you. And what is good for you, each one of us will have to explore it, find it, and experience it. How do you do that? You find at some point of time, you are not able to do it in the free way. So we have all these clashes, apparent clashes and conflicts. So I think it's important for us to look at very closely and how probably we can have a program in every law university. We have so many universities that joined this program today, where we began redrafting our legislations, many of our legislations. Look at the SC/ST Atrocities Act. Look at many of the legislations, their duties part of it is completely absent. The call upon somebody's conscience, the need to respond to somebody's welfare. So we begin to have this kind of programs and redrafting our legislations. We would have done a great duty. Therefore, Kartavyam will have to begin, Kartavyam will have to go, Kartavyam will have to process and flourish. And I know I can go on for a long time on this because it's a great and an appealing idea. And an appealing idea, as long as it absorbs each and every one of your mind, I think this nation would have done its great job in moving into, whether you call it Viksit Bharat 2047 or whatever it is. Because we need to become a different center of focus in the global affairs. And as they move in different parts of India, across the globe, in the past couple of years after I assumed this office, I find the way India has begun to occupy a position of importance and where people would like to listen to what India has like to say, not only in political affairs, also in the field of education, the field of science, and many important fields. And if only India loses the opportunity of doing this, then I think we will be probably having the same kind of problems which Europe is facing, with the only way of looking at armed conflicts of resolving their problems. Let us not do that. The students of today bear an important duty. That is your Kartavyam for the nation. Your Kartavyam for the nation is only to resolve that I bear a responsibility not only to my life, not only to my neighbor's life, not only to my family, but to the whole globe. So how do you go about doing that? Transform history, rewrite history. Transforming history, rewriting history would be our Kartavyam. I would love to look at it like that. And I will probably close my talks for the day. I thought I'll come with a prepared speech, but somehow after entering this coronation hall, my mind began to travel in what's called a freewheeling way of looking at it. And I hope I've tried to make sense for my being present here today. But then whenever I go to universities, law schools, or institutions, I begin to count how many women are there. And I did some counting, but it became difficult to count there beyond that point. And so I thought I'll end my interaction with you today with a small piece I wrote on equality. And if that makes sense for gender understanding, and so be it. I did that in a talk I did before the Defense Research and Development Organization when I went to see a lot of women scientists. It's a great sight to see that. It was very interesting. I thought we must keep talking about it, not from, again, a divided point of view. Our equality debate has gone on, again, on certain understandings. The gender divisions. Can there be an appeal to basic human sensibility and understanding that gender can never divide us? How do you promote that idea? How do you promote that idea? So universities, we're going to promote that idea not from mere what called the demand and response issue, but from somewhere a higher level of responses. A higher level of responses where Tagore talked about, where our great saints, Aurobindo talked about, higher level of responses. And how do we inculcate the higher level of responses in our student community? It's easy to pick up a flag and a march and things like that, but it's difficult to tell your own mind and heart what is my Kartavyam to the world and the globe and the universe. Sustainable development is also about Kartavyam. So we can link many things around us as part of Kartavyam. I am glad and indeed privileged to be here today. Before I try to locate, I think probably I can come back to it because just Narimha has to probably share his thoughts with you. And I say thank all of you to be here and giving your attention to me and to Professor Seema Singh. And thank you so much. I take liberty to read my little piece. I can locate it on my mobile.
A heartfelt thank you, sir, for highlighting what one should and should not do and including some teachings from Vedas. Thank you, sir. And now, the moment we've all been waiting for. We're deeply honored to have with us our chief guest, Honorable Mr. Justice Shri P.S. Narimha, eminent judge, Supreme Court of India, who is full of legal knowledge and expertise. His Lordship's journey from a promising law student to a senior advocate and eventually to the esteemed position of a judge of the Honorable Supreme Court of India is marked by his significant contributions to jurisprudence, advocacy, and legal reforms. Let us extend a warm welcome as we invite His Lordship to share his words of wisdom with us.
Mr. Venkatramani, with whom I appeared in the court, I hear him regularly in the court, being a judge. Strangely, today, I think he sounded so much like a professor of jurisprudence and law. And less of a lawyer, and that position of an attorney seems to have been taken away by Professor Prakash Singh, who seemed to have sounded like an attorney today. Professor Rajni Abi, Seema Singh ji, Alka Chawla ji, Anju Wali Tikku ji, Raman Mittal ji, students, Santanu. I am very, very happy to be here for more than one reason. First and foremostly, it appears as if I've come back to my faculty. In 1988, I got enrolled after having done my law here. And such a large gathering also, and also the context, unusual context in which. This, I must commence with congratulating the faculty of imagining this concept and having this vital lecture series. I applaud my alma mater for the initiation, particularly because we have a large contingent of young students who we are getting ready to take over for the years to come. A big challenge as a lawyer and also as a judge was after I heard a beautiful phrase of Kalidas, Satyaya Mithabashinam. It's a beautiful expression which says, in order to be truthful, you must speak less. Imagine how big a challenge it is. In order to be truthful, you must speak less. And if it applies to a lawyer, where do we stand? If it applies to a judge who is writing a judgment, where does he stand? It's an effort. It's an exercise. It's a sadhana. Sadhana in the sense that you have to work on a statement and test it from various perspectives and see whether it ultimately stands as it is or not. I will try to be as short as possible, and I will share with you my ideas about this concept of Kartavyam. First and foremostly, a question arises whether it is justified to have a binary of a right on the one hand and a duty on the other hand. Do they exist separately? This is a Western construct, as I understand it. We have never lived by this binary at any point of time. In this civilization, we didn't have situations where we knew what rights were and we operated on rights separately. And then we knew what duties were and we operated on duties separately. This is fundamentally Western because their jurisprudence and thinking creates this binary in every phase and every area. Are they not one and the same? According to me, a right and a duty are like a word in its own meaning. Perhaps like sun and sunlight. They don't differ from each other. You will have to work with a right which you have and possess and perform the duty, and it doesn't stop there. Right and duty eventually should lead you somewhere. They are not an end in itself. Right could be to some extent that you have the freedom, but these two together must lead you somewhere. And what is the destination? What is that ultimate thing that we need to reach? I can divide this into three parts. First and foremostly, we are looking at right and duty in the context of our country as a citizen. As a citizen, we have acquired this position after independence when we were subjects either under a king or a ruler or under the British, and for the first time we have become citizens. That's a great transition. So we are citizens of a democratic republic. And if we are in a democracy, then there must be some role that we play. So what is this democracy about? Democracy is not just numbers. The choice that is to be made by the maximum number of people, or the majority, so to say. There was a guru of Ambedkar who very beautifully defined democracy as a form of moral and spiritual association that recognizes the contribution of each member can make in his own particular way to an ethical community. Following him, Ambedkar himself said, democracy is not merely a form of government, It is primarily a mode of associated living. Please mark those words, they are of great importance. Associated living, conjoint, communicated experience. It is essentially an attribute of respect and reverence towards our fellow men. This is what democracy is. Democracy is working together with dignity for each other and respect for one another and reverence towards fellow men to ensure that each one reaches a particular level, commonly, not an individual goal. There are many quotes which I don't want to bore you with, more and more statements which are identical thoughts. Like one of our former Chief Justice has said, political traditions of people and its spirit and development and determination to work out is constitutional salvation through a chosen system of political organizations. Therefore, in this context, where do you find that so-called duty or kartavyam that we are trying to find today? This question arose in the mind of Sarvepalli Radhakrishnan when he wrote his two big famous volumes on Indian philosophy. He said, in order to find out exactly what the duty was for those who are fighting for our freedom, they needed to have a base. What is the objective and for what purpose are we fighting to gain our freedom and independence? So there is something very fundamental or essential that we have lost and we need to gain it back. So he has gone into what our original identities were. How were we living? What was our thought? What were our ideas? And then why is it that we should restitute it back? So in that process, he has identified beautiful things like, very, very important thing he says, that India never felt that the world was a field of battle where men struggled for power, wealth and domination. When we do not need to waste our energies on problems of life of an earth, exploiting nature and controlling the forces of the world, we begin to think the higher life, how to live more perfectly in the spirit, helped by natural conditions and provided with the intellectual scope of thinking of the implications of things. India escaped the doom which Plato pronounced to be the worst of all, hatred of reason. We lived by reason, is what we say. That's the most essential defining point so far as India is concerned. So with this freedom that we need to regain back, that we need to work for securing our independence. And then was born the need to fight, and there was this kartavyam to secure what we have lost. The first phase of kartavyam, as we can, if we need to understand what the kartavyam is today, the first kartavyam that arose for an independent India was the duty that the freedom fighters felt, that we must work towards bringing back that thought, that idea, or that living of freedom that is the defining point. And the second phase will be when our constitutional fathers, having obtained freedom, worked step by step to put it in the constitution what our kartavyam could be. So here again, you would see at the first phase there was no binary. While our constitutional fathers fought for freedom. They exercised their speech of freedom of speech. They wrote, they spoke, they assembled, though it was prevented. Then they formed associations. With all these freedoms were not an end in itself. With those, they worked on their duties and eventually brought back the freedom to us. This is what is again reflected in the phase 2 when the constitution was being made. If you are all law students, large number of you are law students and professors, constitutional debates are replete continuously with this exercise as to, we now got our freedom, then we need to work, and therefore we need to reach. So we need to combine these, the power of freedom, the obligation of accomplishing it, and to make a better world. As democracy, justice, equality, and fraternity, as one of us have said. I will not quote from the written text that I have. It's there all over. At every stage, every one of these legislative assembly members who had spoken talked so much in detail about how we need to utilize these freedoms. I'm using that word again, utilize these freedoms. Utilize it for not self-fulfillment. Utilize it for the purpose of working towards something and make India the best of the places, the better world. Constitutional debate is replete with that. Then comes the third situation, that is when the constitution is made. I will leave it to you to consult the constitutional debates and find in it the complete connectivity between what we perceive as rights, as freedoms, and then our obligations, and what each one of them speak about how we should work towards a better society. Then when the constitution is made, then we had one of the best document, the preamble of the constitution, which speaks about equality of status. And then we speak about fraternity, apart from equality and freedom. Here again, the same Western perception about bifurcating and splitting what we called freedom of the 6 freedoms that we have under the Constitution, and then the right of equality. The binary again comes in. The binary is across the world. The whole world is divided as those who are calling themselves as democracies, and those who are aiming towards making the world an equal place, and by demanding that there must be socialism and communism. So much so equality is far more important, because 100 flowers must bloom. You know that. So there is yet another binary as the world progresses, and we had 2 different civilizations in the world. Those who are propagating freedoms, those who are propagating equalities. And when we made our constitution, we ensured that we speak about justice, we speak about equality, we speak about freedom, and we speak about fraternity too. So when it comes to reconciliation of these 2 rights, the right of the freedom and then the equality, these are competing rights. We have the modern debates also, as the attorney was also indicating some time back, that which is higher, which is more important for the existing governments. Aurobindo is the one who realized that this binary, again created by the West, creates nothing but strife. On the one hand, when you assert a right, you are asserting the individual self, my right, my claim, my freedom of speech. I would like to say anything I would want. Absolutely right, justified, must have, and we must respect it. There, according to me, no higher value than the absolute freedoms that we enjoy. Our essence of human character comes out of the freedoms that we enjoy. There is no way we can at any point of time dilute them. But orientation, that orientation of that right, is it always speaking in the context of self, or the freedom will take within itself the idea of ensuring that equal freedom is enjoyed by others? It also takes within its sweep the freedom of selflessness, or to freedom to enable other also to enjoy it the same breath that you do. That is the essential part of a freedom. That is not an exclusionary freedom as the West has perceived it. West perceives even a property as exclusionary. It is mine, matter ends there, nobody can share. When it comes to property, as just look at the perspectives make the world of difference. Somebody as a capitalist or completely freedom oriented can say, truth is the cash value of an idea, in the sense whichever idea gives you the maximum money, as a capitalist would think, is the truth. You'd see how the American way of thinking is. That gives you the best of the product. That is the most truthful thing. Whereas the socialist nations have said private property is a theft. Karl Marx simply said private property is theft. Diametrically opposite. Gandhiji had a different idea because of the background. He said private property is trust. You could see the difference there. When he says private property is trust, he is not saying you don't own the property. It says private property is trust in the sense that you utilize the property in a manner that would bring about happiness to one and all. It is not completely to secure to yourself and to exclude for everyone. That is the way India looked at freedoms. That is the way India looked at rights. It's not that we never had rights. We always had rights. Rights were intended and to be worked on for the purpose of ensuring a better living for quote unquote we. The first word of the Constitution is not I, we the people of India. That is where our existence commences. So therefore the most important aspect of is the perspective with which we see. There is no binary in a right, there is no binary in a duty. These two are fundamental for the purpose of achieving a third thing, which is the highest value, that is the fraternity. This way of thinking is an original thinking, not to be immediately earlier. Another law students are here. I'm sharing this thought with you. Even our freedom fighters from the very beginning were those who had gone abroad, studied in England and America and come back. They never diluted their original Indian thought. They come back, applied what is a Western data or a knowledge in the context of what is needed for us. The second generation too, who were in the cusp of freedom movement and became part of the governance also, like Ambedkar, like Gandhiji, Nehru, came back and then applied it. in the context. Similarly, my advice is that you also as law students must have the original essential Indianality, without which we are lost. It's very easy because of the global world. You ask a student a proposition, you check the net, you will have everything on the internet available of every Western philosopher having its perspective. You download it, print it out. Where is your thought in it? Have you matched it with what we are and how it applies to us? Their thinking may be very different. It may be suitable for them. To what extent it is appropriate for us? This is one of the psychological challenges that we had. The generation before the Constitution, the two generations before the Constitution, maintained that originality. That generation, which was in the cusp of the Constitution, who were before and after, maintained it. Our generation, who are first after the independence, me and I'm sure after independence, Mr. Retoni? Sure. So we had a semblance of it, but you are all born in a global world. You must be rooted here and access information from there. Don't be rooted there and deliver information here. Then we lose everything. The Kartavyam, therefore, is to root yourself in. The Kartavyam is to root yourself in. If you don't root yourself here, you would have lost it. We would have lost it. And there is nothing for us to work. There is no objective for us to work. It's just at par with anywhere. If India is to lead, India is to show to the rest of the world, there is something very different, that this civilization subsisted in spite of any kind of a trouble that it had. There is something essential which remains in it, which became innate in it. That you should not lose. Get in, make it a part of yourself and apply it. I will conclude by the last idea that I had. After days and days of discussion, constitutional assembly debates culminated in the final constitution. The last passage, the last word of Ambedkar was that I will read it out. I think this is a better thing. I think many of you would have known it. But then as much defense as could be afforded to the Constitution has been offered by Alladi Krishnaswamy Iyer and T.T. Krishnamacharya. I shall not therefore enter into the merits of the Constitution, because I feel, however good a Constitution may be, it is sure to turn out bad, because those who have called to work it happen to be a bad lot. However bad the Constitution may be, it may turn out to be good if those who are called to work it happen to be a good lot. Constitution, he is saying, will not work. Constitution will not work. It is those lot. If they are good, it will be a good Constitution. If they are bad, it's a bad Constitution. Then where is this industry? Where is this foundry? Where is that institution where such good lot are prepared, are forged, are made? Where is that institution? Constitution is silent. Constitution is silent. You check for yourself where such industries are, where such foundries are. Answer I will not give. Its answer is for you. It is you as students who are in the making. You as students are the ones who would occupy constitutional positions and make the Constitution an effective instrument for us to live. And there is nothing in the Constitution, it is in you And where is that thing that you imbibe for yourself? Make your body and a soul as that which will be a good instrument for the country. Check that out. It is your duty to check that out. I'll complete this. The working of the Constitution does not depend wholly upon the nature of the Constitution. Constitution can provide only the organs of the state, such as the legislature, the executive, and the judiciary. The factors on which the working of these organs of the state depend are the people in the political parties they will set up as the instruments to carry out their wishes and their policies. It is therefore futile to pass any judgment upon the Constitution without reference to the part which the people and their party is likely to play. You get character in families, you get character in law colleges, educational institutions, in literature, in poetry, in stories, in itihasas. That is where you will imbibe your values, and the rest of it is for you to check and how to strengthen your character, how to strengthen your courage, and how to build your courage and your conviction to ensure that the country is made the best and lead the world. Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, somebody said. Udara, the earlier phrase is far more important. There is a phrase earlier to it. The phrase earlier to it is Udara Charitanam tu Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, which means those who have liberality of thought, for them, it's not for everybody, it is for them, the world. World is a Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. So that is, I think, where our Kartavyam lies, and I wish you all the very best. And thank everyone for giving me this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for highlighting the citizen's role in democracy in relation to rights and duties, and also a calling to root yourself in Kartavyam. Your thoughts have given so much to reflect upon, sir. Thank you. Learned Attorney General for India had found that the poem on equality, the piece of note that he wanted to share, requesting sir for sharing that.
I'm sorry to take your time again after a wonderful speech by Mrs. Narimha. It was the Holy March of Equality. I call it holy. What is equality? The question old as the mountains, as they say. What is justice is a question old as the Garden of Eden, many myths do say. Old as they are, young they continue. In forms old or themes new. Poignant and teasing, what answers strong and bold, what ways of mind unbridled, what scripts and songs that undo, what togetherness of minds and means, what dances of unison ever fresh, can, in solemn search of truth and good will do, that our women unchained can say, I will say that women and men unchained can say, we are free towards that day and land of freedom true. We are talking of a Kartavyam, which will be land of freedom true. Toward that land of freedom true, our pledge and marches be. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for sharing this precious writing with us. We're truly honored. Now, as we approach to the end of today's event, which I'm sure no one would want to, since we've got such a large gathering which is not only sitting but also standing throughout this event, it is time to express our heartfelt gratitude And may I now request Professor Dr. Raman Mittal, Professor, Campus Law Center, former Dean Faculty of Law, former Professor in charge of Campus Law Center, Professor of Intellectual Property, to deliver the vote of thanks.
Honorable dignitaries on the dais, my erudite colleagues on and off the dais, and very dear students, it is my proud privilege to deliver this vote of thanks in this august gathering. As I sat there on one of the chairs, listening attentively to what all is being said, I am wonderstruck with a variety of thoughts converging on the point of duty and responsibility. Here I would like to narrate a small story which I have listened long time back. The story is from Mahabharata. Parikshit was a great king of India, one of the greatest. He was the grandson of great warrior Arjun. He was known for his justice. In those days, as we all know, the king was the maker of law as well as the fount of justice. So one day, as he presided over his court, a case was brought. The plaintiff started arguing his case. And he said, "Oh, great king, here is the defendant standing in front of us. I had bought a piece of land from him some time back. As I was tilling and digging the land for farming purposes, I found a pitcher buried inside the worm of land. The pitcher I opened, and it was full of gold. Now I cannot keep the gold with me. This belongs to the defendant because I bought the land from the defendant and he's not ready to take it back. And I must perform my duty. I can't keep it." Well, the king invited the defendant to speak. The defendant said, "Well, my lord, when I have sold the land, I've sold it lock, stock, and barrel. Everything that is beneath the land or above the land, everything goes along with the land. I cannot take it back. Please don't force me." As the king was listening, and it was evening already, he said, "Okay, we'll resume. I've heard the arguments. We'll decide it tomorrow. Come tomorrow at first light. We'll decide the case then." So the case was adjourned. And the next morning, everybody was there. The parties were there. The plaintiff wanted another opportunity to argue, and he was given. And he said, "My lord, oh great king, I had bought the land, and everything that lies inside the land belongs to me. I am not ready to give it to the defendant." And the defendant said exactly the opposite. "I sold the land, but not the things that it contained. I might have not known them, I might have forgotten those things, but then they belong to me. Please get the gold back to me." We know not how the case was ultimately decided. It still remains a matter of legal debate. But what is more important is the great judicious king said by way of obiter. You know what he said? He said, "Kali Yuga has finally descended on earth." That means, in the estimation of one of the most judicious kings of this land, when the society becomes too focused on rights, it is the age of Kali. And conversely speaking, when we pay more attention to our duties, when duties, the discourse of duties becomes dominant, it is the golden age, which we always remember as the blissful infancy of humanity. Well, I'm also reminded of William Shakespeare's greatest play, The Tragedy of Macbeth. And he said, when he, after a lifelong chase of power and right, he came to learn that his wife had committed suicide. When he was about so near the throne, he said, "It's a tale full of sound and fury, signifying nothing." So, in the end, I would just like to read a small poem that I had written some time back. The title of the poem is Two Siblings. A long, long while ago, when time had just begun to flow, two siblings were born to make our life worth. They were born of the same father and mother. One can't exist without the other. Of each other they are fond, forming an invisible bond. One gives us power. With fulfillment, the other does shower. One gives us pleasure. Joy, the other allows us to treasure. With first, in strength we grow. The other, with beauty, makes us glow. As a human, one makes us shine. The other can make us simply divine. For our full growth, we must make friends with both. With us, when both travel together, all storms we can weather. Like two sides of the same coin, balance in life they enjoin. Forget one, and for long we cannot run. Alike they seem, they perform best as a team. The first one is called right, and duty the other's name we cite. Thank you so much. And I thank everybody, all the student volunteers and teachers who had worked, especially Shantanu, who I have known as a brilliant student and a little naughty one as well. Thank you so much.
I extend my thanks to you, sir. I would request everyone to stand up for national anthem, please.
जनगण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मागे गाहे तव जय गाथा जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे
With that, we come to the conclusion of today's event. Let us carry forward the insights gained today and make a meaningful impact. Thank you all.
I will come again.
Thank you, sir.